local, late breaking. This is Heartland News at 10 on KFVS 12.
The sleet and freezing rain began just overnight, and the snow started right after midnight.
In this purple strip where we saw lots of areas between 12 and 13 inches of snow.
Now, as you can see, the snow is very flaky, very light, very fluffy.
It is a first alert action day here in the Heartland.
And we have had reports of very, very icy travel.
And the word from authorities, don't travel unless it's necessary.
Travel conditions dangerous and roads covered by snow, in some places ice too. Here, a tractor-trailer skidded off the side of I-55 and hit a sign.
Kentucky is under a statewide emergency tonight because of the heavy snow.
And we're going to have some very, very cold weather to deal with.
We're not going to get above freezing, not only today, but for the next couple of days.
So the winter storm may have passed, but a lot of us got out and had some fun in the snow.
It really wasn't the type of storm that you could build a snowman with or even have a snowball fight. But rest assured, we didn't have to venture far to find some of those outdoor enthusiasts. That was awesome.
Well, that's about all it's good for, isn't it?
Yeah, really.
An active 24 hours after a hazardous winter wonderland hit the Heartland.
As you just saw, some areas got more than a foot of snow, and tonight we continue our coverage with live reports from both sides of the Mississippi River.
First things first, we're going to check in with the people who saw the whole thing coming, and that is Grant Dade. Grant, you predicted this snow, and it sure came.
Yeah, for most of the area, just a tremendous amount of snow. There was one area where it didn't quite meet up to what we thought it would. Let's take a look at the accumulations, and we'll talk about that. We forecast about 6 inches almost for the entire Heartland from Mount Vernon down towards about right around the Kentucky-Tennessee border. Well, our northern edge just didn't materialize, but the rest of the area sure did. And take a look at some of these numbers. Now, these are pretty much averages from the counties. I checked hundreds of reports all day long in the Weather Service and Facebook, through other social media outlets, and came up with these numbers for what actually fell across the area. And right here, McCracken County, about 12 inches. Well, we saw a lot of areas that saw up to 13 inches, but officially at the airport or at the National Weather Service where they measure that snowfall, 10.8 inches for Paducah, and that will go down as the third most snowfall for a single day in the history of Paducah. So it was a very historic snowfall for many areas. Other areas, just another 3 to 5 inches. Now, we are dry right now, but that could change as we head towards tomorrow, plus some bitterly cold temperatures. Going to talk all about it coming up.
A group of truckers stopped to help a man after he crashed his truck on I-55. This happened around 3 o'clock this afternoon near Marston. The driver slid off the road and flipped several times in the vehicle before winding up in this ditch. As you can see, truckers parked their rigs and came to the man's aid. We understand that our crew on the scene told us the man was shaken up but not seriously injured.
And a tricky stretch of road on Interstate 55 here near Portersville. At least 5 cars slid off the road. This was around 1 o'clock this afternoon. Both northbound lanes of the interstate were blocked off for at least an hour while crews cleaned up the scene, but we're told they're back open tonight.
Road conditions are so bad in Kentucky that Governor Steve Beshear has declared a statewide emergency. That designation will allow the Commonwealth to activate the National Guard to help with relief efforts. It also lets state agencies close some roads in the interest of public safety. Beshear is asking everyone in Kentucky to stay off the roads unless it's absolutely necessary.
Well, you know, we don't usually get a lot of snow like this typically, so drivers don't get too much practice on snowy and icy roads.
Giacomo Luca is in Carterville tonight, where black ice is a big concern.
And that's right, Jeff. Ice, especially black ice tonight, will be a major concern for road crews that are going in to plow those roads later this evening. Now, a big problem is that the salt that's being used, that chemical being used to help treat the roads, doesn't respond to sub-zero temperatures. That means that especially road crews will be leaving it up to road crews to be hitting the roads hard, trying to plow and scrape away at the ice. Now, over in the city of Marion, just to put in perspective, 400 tons of salt was put down just today by a crew of more than 15 people. Now, they were out for 16 hours in dump trucks, plows, and using snow blowers. Doug Phillips, the superintendent of the Department of Streets in Marion, says ice is going to be a major issue tonight.
No, the dropping temperature is going to be a big thing to how how hard it's froze in the morning to where the trucks will get it off, but it should get under it in the morning with this dry. It's a dry snow.
And crews have taken a break for the night after working again a 16-hour shift. Now, crews in Marion say they're going to be hitting the roads around 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, and that's all in the hopes of being able to break away that ice and making sure the roads are clear in time for your morning commute. Live local late breaking tonight from Carterville. I'm Giacomo Luca, Heartland News.
All right, Giacomo, thank you very much. There was an extra danger on the road today for one IDOT worker. A snowplow driver reported someone shot at his truck. Happened around 11 o'clock this morning on Interstate 24 east of Metropolis. The man told investigators the shots came from a black SUV with tinted windows. State police later found a vehicle matching that description near Vienna. Authorities say they did find 2 weapons inside that SUV. 4 people were arrested. A 5th person in the vehicle was released with no charges.
The Missouri Highway Patrol warns against driving with any snow or ice on your vehicle. It can be dangerous to other drivers, and you could be liable if it causes an accident. That doesn't stop everyone, of course. Nicole Cartmel joins us with one Heartland man's story that cost him his car.
Jeff, when I was out here earlier today, I saw a ton of cars that looked a lot like this, you know, with mounds of snow on their car, and in some cases, their windshields hadn't even been cleaned off, and that can be a big hazard. A man I talked with today might have a story that could make you think twice before leaving all that snow and ice on your car.
I was headed to work, and I seen some guy coming at me, and I noticed that I couldn't see him in the car. And the next thing I know, he's headed for me, and I stopped and laid on the horn, and he just smacked me. It was like bazinga, it was over with.
That was back in November after a driver didn't clean off his windshield and crashed right into Ernie. And while some of us took the time to clean off every bit of snow today, others chose not to. And those that didn't risk causing the same situation Ernie is now paying for.
He had no insurance, and I'm just out of vehicle, and he is too.
Ernie says the problem comes down to time.
Just a few minutes cleaning the window off would have made a world of difference in both of our parts.
It's those few minutes,
maybe 10 minutes at the most,
that he always takes to clear his car, because at the end of the day, it could mean the difference between getting home to see your loved ones or winding up in a hospital bed.
I like to go home to my wife, you know, and my kids and my grandkids, I like to see them, and I don't want somebody running over them because they won't clean their window off. It's just...
The Missouri Highway Patrol says you are responsible for any snow or ice that might fly off of your car that, you know, might cause a crash. The best practice, they say, is clearing off every last bit of it, and that way you don't, even if it means standing out here a little bit longer. Live local, late breaking, Nicole Cartmel, Heartland News.
Nicole, thank you very much. The layer of ice and snow is keeping some schools closed again tomorrow, including Southeast Missouri State University. You can see a full list scrolling at the bottom of your screen. We also keep school closings, of course, updated on our website, as well as any unofficial list of businesses that are closing too. You can also find links to information about road conditions, but again, many agencies throughout the Heartland are recommending drivers stay off the roads. You can find more stories at kfes12.com/winter.
Of course, it's not all doom and gloom when winter weather hits. A lot of us took time to get out and enjoy it. Or in Marianne's case, she made her kids do manual labor outside. These are some of the images that viewers sent to us today via C News. Plenty of kids making snow angels and sledding. You can check out more on our website, and we invite you to share your pictures as well. Just send them in to CNews at KFES12.com.
Nearly 3,000 dogs are putting their best paw forward at the 139th Annual Westminster Dog Show. I'm Naomi Choi-Smith, and I'll have that story coming up.
And later, fire in the skies of West Virginia after a train derailment there. We'll have the very latest.
Now, first alert weather from the Heartland Storm Team.
Folks, we got some rapidly dropping temperatures across the Heartland. We'll explain why that is just a second. Boy, 9 right now in Ava, 4.5 inches of snow on the ground. 16 to Madrid of 5 inches of snow on the ground. Piedmont 19, 8.5 inches of snow. Union City 19 degrees earlier with 3 inches, kind of a sleet snow mix. But I wanted to show you, at 9 o'clock, Cape Girardeau was 14. It was 3 in Mount Vernon. It's now 3 in Cape Girardeau. It's 1 in Mount Vernon. Temperatures are dropping where the skies have cleared. Whenever the winds die down, the temperature just plummets. Now, the temperature will probably warm up a degree or two and then go back a little cooler, but it's these little pockets where the winds have died down. You've got a deep snowpack, and the skies are clear in these areas that it's getting very cold. We're still seeing a few clouds across our western counties. Notice the mid and upper teens. If we start to see some breaks here, we'll drop down to single digits here as well. So it's a very cold start. No precipitation to worry about, though. What we have to worry about travel-wise tonight is the heavily traveled roads, the ones that were really cleared, had a lot of treatment, and then the heat from the cars melted a little bit of the snow. Well, that water is all ice now. So there will be patches, if not stretches, of black ice on many of the roads tonight. So if you do have to get out this evening, or if you're going to be headed into work overnight, be aware it's going to be a bit slick in a few areas, and it's going to be very, very cold. Take a look. Precision Cast at least keeping us dry, depicting a little bit of fog trying to develop as well. And remember, fog is basically just, all it is water vapor that's floating in the air. It's a cloud, but it is in the form of water vapor even when the temperature's in the single digits. It stays that way until it touches something. So once it touches a car top, touches a rooftop, road signs, a little light glaze could form. So you could get a little bit of that on your windshield as well tomorrow morning with those temperatures just bitterly cold. And then a front moves in, and this front is going to bring the possibility of some snow flurries with it. No accumulating snow anticipated, and then much colder weather moving in. I know tonight's bitterly cold. 0 Mount Vernon. I've dropped the temperature down to 1 now for Cape Girardeau. I don't know if I can keep up with how fast it's dropping. 5 degrees in Carbondale, 6 in Paducah. Tomorrow afternoon is going to struggle to get out of the 20s because of that snowpack. We're going to leave it in the upper 20s. Some of us may stay in the mid 20s. And then as we head throughout the extended forecast, Wednesday morning, tomorrow night, will feel colder than tonight, even though the temperature will not be, because the wind chill will be a major factor. And then 18 on Wednesday, an average low, the way it looks right now, of 3 below 0 on Thursday morning. Wednesday night into Thursday morning, 3 below 0. But there are some indications, especially based on what's happening right now, that we may wake up with some temperatures of this nature. And we're talking about 10 below 0 or colder. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Thursday we could set all-time records for the month of February. So stay tuned. We'll continue to watch that. And then as we head towards the weekend, guess what? We may have to deal with some more wintry weather.
Grant, thank you very much. Emergency crews on the scene of a train derailment in southern West Virginia tonight.
Yeah, that train carrying more than 100 tanker cars of crude oil went off the rails and burst into flames. Brian Hughes is in West Virginia, where it is all happening.
A line of flames lights up the night sky along the Canal River in Boomer, West Virginia. Fueling the fire, thousands of gallons of crude oil spilled during a partial derailment of the train about a mile long. The CSX train carrying more than 100 tankers skipped the tracks and exploded about 1:30 in the afternoon.
That is hard to believe. Wow. You feel that heat?
Officials say more than a dozen tanker cars caught fire, incinerating a nearby house.
When it blew up, the flames were higher than the top of the mountain, and I could feel the heat on my face.
Initially, CXS had a hard time identifying how many cars were involved. They had to use our camera and our lens to be able to identify which cars were involved in the derailment. Oil is also spilling into the Canal River. Residents were told to evacuate as emergency response and environmental officials assess the damage. A nearby water treatment plant, which serves about 2,000 customers, has been shut down. So far, no word on what caused the derailment. In Boomer, West Virginia, Brian Hughes for CBS News.
That train was traveling from North Dakota to Yorktown, Virginia. CSX says one person is being treated for smoke inhalation.
Should more students in Missouri be able to attend so-called virtual schools for free? That's a question lawmakers will talk about this week in Jefferson City. Last week, a Senate panel okayed a bill that would allow students in failing school districts to attend online schools. A member of the Missouri School Boards Association says paying tuition for virtual schools could put a strain on finances for public schools.
Well, as we already told you, some folks like to get out in the snow and have some fun. Take Joe Foster of Marion, for instance. He got a chance to play in the snow with his 3 children. He says he's got a little bit of time off of work, so why not?
Yeah, taking my son out for the first time in the snow. He's having a little bit too much fun. He won't talk or do much besides run around in it. Pick it up and throw it on himself.
And
Foster says the family did all of their shopping before the storm came in, so now they've got a bit of quality time with each other until the roads clear.
Oh, look at those pink chubby cheeks. It's so much fun when you're a kid.
Yeah, I know.
You played today, right?
Yeah, we got into some snow angels for a little bit. Luckily for me, it didn't last very long. She was ready to go back in.
It was really cool. Well, we did some soccer, football, sledding, and then shoveling, because there's nothing wrong with some child labor. That's why we had children.
I know. I had my 5-year-old do it too. I'm like, get out there, get that done.
Make yourself
get
useful.
This van
right?
out of here.
Well, new rules could be coming to the skies as the FAA mulls over drone regulations. We'll have the details next.
A potential game change in the world of drones. The FAA has unveiled new rules that largely support the commercial use of the remote-controlled aircraft.
Bobby Capel has reaction to the proposed regulations.
Drones have exploded in popularity over the last year, but when it comes to rules and regulations, it's been the wild, wild west. In fact, it's technically illegal to operate a drone commercially without a special exemption, but now the FAA has proposed new rules that would change that. Proposed regulations mean drones would have to be kept in sight, avoid hazards like airports and people, stay below 500 feet, and commercial operators would have to be at least 17 years old and pass a federal test.
These types of systems are vital for us to have so that they're safe operation.
Keith Kaplan is the head of the nation's largest commercial drone association and was part of a team that went to the White House last summer to meet with the administration to discuss drone regulation.
So this rulemaking is very important because it sets up standards, just like with a manned aircraft, where you follow certain procedures so that you eliminate human error.
Earlier this week, we learned of a drone scare at LAX when a Southwest plane narrowly missed one of the unmanned devices at 4,000 feet. Bill Malo is a drone specialist with Sammy's Camera.
They will do major damage to real aircraft and to human beings. People just need to use their common sense when operating these drones.
The new rules and regulations will not be final for another year or longer. Anyone using commercial drones still has to get an exemption from the FAA. And this doesn't change anything for the hobbyist who can operate drones up to 400 feet as long as they are more than 5 miles away from an airport.
Well, the Redhawks looked like an entirely new team last week. Todd will talk to Coach Dickie Nutt about SEMO's dramatic improvement next in sports.
Hi, everyone. The SEMO basketball team took a giant step forward last week and came within an eyelash of sweeping the top 2 teams in the Ohio Valley Conference's West Division. First, the Redhawks dominated UT Martin Thursday night 98-76 at the Show Me Center, a performance Southeast has been looking for all season long and a momentum builder for their showdown with first place Murray State. And what a game it was Saturday night in Cape Girardeau. The Redhawks were within seconds of ending the Racers' 20-game winning streak, but Murray was able to tie it in the closing seconds and then win it in overtime 94-92. Here's my one-on-one interview with SEMO coach Dickie Nutt. Well, Coach, boy, that was a heartbreaker against Murray State in overtime. They got you at their place in a close game. Then they get you at your place in overtime. You just might see them again in the OVC tournament.
Well, you never know. I think you just got to play one game at a time, and I just know that it helped us because we felt like that we can play with anybody. It proved that we can play with anybody in the league. You know, anything could happen in that tournament, but we are pleased to how we're playing. But we don't want to look too far down the road. We don't have any idea what's going on other than Thursday night we have Edwardsville.
And when we talked about earlier in the first segment, we talked about the freshmen, Marcus Wallace and J.T. Jones. Now let's move forward a little bit to a guy who's been around for a while, Nino Johnson, who it looks like is playing as well as anybody in the OVC.
You know, every scout that was at that game the other night has called me or emailed me or something about Nino Johnson. They think he can really be a pro. You know, that's the Nino Johnson that we know that he can be. He's got a 3.5 grade point average in the classroom. He's living his life like he's supposed to live. He's dependent. He's accountable. He's leading this basketball team. And so I never have to worry about that anymore. The only thing I worry about with Nino every night is giving me that great effort night in and night out. When he does that, it's unbelievable.
Meanwhile, another guy dunks that you just don't see. He's only a sophomore, Antonius Cleveland. And the thing about Antonius Cleveland, Coach, you told me the story. He couldn't even, dunk, you said, when he first came?
No, could barely dunk a basketball when he got here a year ago. And what you love about him, and I've said this before and I say it over and over, that he's probably one of my all-time favorites. In 20 years as a head coach, man, that guy's my all-time favorite because he brings it every day. And it goes back to determination. It goes back to being in that gym, shooting 1,000 free throws over and over and over. Right now, to this day, he is sick to his stomach. He feels like that he lost that game on Saturday night because he ran into that shooter on a three-point shot, and it gave them a three-point opportunity. But like I told him, I said, man, we wouldn't be in the game if it wasn't for you. So get your head up. And he's an exciting player, and I think the sky's the limit for him. You talk about being in the NBA, he very well could be.
Now it looks like you found the formula. How do you keep it up?
Well, I think more of the same. I think you keep the foot down on them and hold them accountable. Make sure that they play with all-out fire and make sure they're as unselfish as they can be. And we are counting your high fives. You know, that's kind of what I told them, that I'm watching your every move, that you better be the best teammates you can be. If you're playing 1 minute or 39 minutes, you better be the best cheerleader you can be. I think that is the reason why we're playing so good.
So the Redhawks return to the floor Thursday night as they hit the road at SIU Edwardsville. Tip-off is set for 7. That's it for sports.
Well, a New York couple came up with a quick way to entertain their children and teach them about the weather.
So this is what happened when Evie Dykma and her husband decided to throw a cup of boiling water into the air outside of their New York home. According to the National Weather Service, it was 9 degrees in the area with a wind chill of -7, cold enough apparently to turn hot water into ice. The couple's 2 children watched the instant snow from inside. They say the children found it so fascinating they did it 3 more times. That is pretty cool.
It is cool. I just want to go out and do it over and over again. I love this weather so much.
I bet Grant did that today.
Well, hey, no, I didn't do that, but we have plenty of opportunities to do that. Take a look at the 7-day forecast. Plenty cold enough to turn any water vapor, whether it's boiling or not, into instant ice as you throw it up in the air, especially during the morning hours. Getting a little concerned that we may get actually pretty close to breaking an all-time record low for the month of February Thursday morning. Right now, we're going 3 below 0 Thursday morning. Don't be surprised if it's even lower, especially based on the trend that we're seeing right now with temperatures already in the single digits. It's all to do with that snowpack. And speaking of snow, we may get a little more as we head towards the weekend, something we'll be watching for you closely. That may actually have more freezing rain with it on Saturday, and that would not be fun. So
you have a few days to change that.
As if it's fun now?
This was a little bit too much, probably.
Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.